Welcome, everybody, to PinstripeChronicles podcast. Your best source for the most entertaining breakdown on the Yankees. Nothing scripted.
Why is Tats always laughing whenever he starts the show? He always bursts out laughing when he clicks record.
I'm so ready to mess everything up. It's just right on the. It's Monday. I get nervous on Mondays, but
what to be nervous about? We're all friends here. Got Mr. Blues Brother over here, and
well, you always want to start off on the right foot. And this weekend, the Yankees were not on their best foot. A lot of things went wrong. A lot of things went crossways, and it started. Game one, drama between Donald and Anderson.
Donald and Anderson. No. Don't worry. I don't have anything to do with this. All right. Don't get me involved. That's pure Donaldson, okay? He's the one that's pissed off baseball, not me.
Yeah, Donaldson and Anderson.
Thank you.
Yeah, you had the bad news.
He's already fucked up. He started it in 2 minutes.
Hey, it's as real as it gets. What can I tell you?
There we go. He's already implicated me into a huge scandal. Great.
There you
Thanks,
go.
man.
Yeah, you're not even from all the way across the pond.
I know, right? Thanks, man. Thanks. I'll look forward to when I come back to New York in 2 weeks. And I'll have a race scandal on my hands. Thanks, man. Great. Appreciate it.
There's going to be a lot of drinks to apologize for all these mistakes.
A lot.
But, the Tommy John news with Green and Gill and just the offense just decided to take the weekend off. The first game, they actually did show up. So you can't say they were gone the whole weekend. But, they had 3 games to play, and the offense only showed up really for one. It was just not a good weekend for the Yankees. And the way that this season has gone, we haven't really been hit with this type of series that they played. It's only the second series they've lost this year. And so it all depends on how they can bounce back in the next series. But before we look ahead, let's look back and analyze what really happened between Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson, because that one really was the fire starter for a lot of the back and forth on social media this weekend. And when you give yourself a nickname and then that nickname is turned on you in mockery, you can't take offense to that if you gave yourself that nickname. That part of it did not make sense. Did Donaldson, should he have let it go and not used it in that tone? Probably. But it also leads to wonder, is trash talking dead in baseball?
No. Aaron Boone answered it perfectly the other day. His answer was perfect. He said he shouldn't have said it, and that's the end of it. He should not have said anything. If you want to just kind of like what's up, Tim? What's up, Timmy? And then kind of giggle the way he did after saying Jackie, because you can see he was doing a little laugh. He thought it was a joke, but obviously Anderson, when you're in the middle of a feud, I guess, because there's bad blood between these two teams, obviously. It goes back to the last season. It goes back to last year. There was a little fire in the Field of Dreams game. There was that crazy back and forth game, and Anderson got the big hit to win that one. So when tensions are rising, you don't bring up something from 2 years ago and be like, hey, let's all have a smile about it. Because it was clear as day Anderson wanted to fight, because he was the first one that charged when Grandal was in Donaldson's face. He wanted to fight. He was ready to go. So you don't try to poke the bear, I guess, especially when you're winning. You don't want to start some sort of controversy and get the team involved in something they shouldn't be involved in. So Donaldson should, if he wanted to say anything, just be like, what's up, Timmy? And then maybe, I don't know, smile at him. And if you want to get a rise out of the guy, sure, go ahead. But don't. It wasn't racist. I will say that. I don't think it was a racist thing, but you're using a name of a player that is tied to a lot of unfortunate things that he dealt with racism a lot. So yeah, I know Anderson called himself Jackie, the modern day Jackie Robinson, whatever he said the quote was, but you shouldn't have said it. He shouldn't have said it. Maybe Anderson overreacted a little bit, but again, what Boone said, I think, was just perfect. His entire quote, I'm not going to do the whole quote, but basically it was summed up. He shouldn't have done it. And Boone said the jawing back and forth has to stop. And he's right, because we only see these guys every so often. And imagine if we see them in a playoff series. We don't want fireworks on night one of a potential 5 or 7 game series. So, yeah, I don't think it was racism, but I don't think Donaldson should have said anything. He should have just kept going with the game and just try to beat them on the field, because that's all you can do is try to get the W.
Well, the first thing Donaldson did, which was wrong, was he's made himself a distraction. Now the focus of the conversation is not the Yankees having a historic start. It's now Donaldson wading his way into certainly disrespect. Whether it's racist or not, it's not actually for me to judge, and it's not really for any fan to really judge whether it's racist or not. If Anderson felt disrespected, he has every single right in the world to voice that. And so he did voice that, right? I didn't like the fans booing him. I didn't like the fans calling him Jackie from the stands. I didn't like that at all, because first of all, it puts the Yankee fans and the Yankees in an adversarial position. And all we're trying to do is win ball games. And I don't want our fans to be painted in this light that we're making light of quite a serious accusation. Anderson is not in the wrong here. Now, do I think that Donaldson meant wrong? No, but I think he did disrespect them, and I think he was trying to get under his skin in a way, for sure. And that there was really no reason to do it. I mean, if you're buddies, then maybe. But if you're someone who's, not, then he's clearly not doing it in a positive light. And why should you ever use Jackie Robinson's name in anything other than a positive light, right? So, in that respect, it is very disrespectful. So, I don't blame Anderson at all. At first, when I came across the video, when I saw Donaldson apologize, and at first I thought, maybe it's mountain out of a molehill. But then, you know what? I educated myself, and I read more into it, and I looked more into it, and I realized, hey, listen, man, it's not for me to freaking judge. If someone says an American epithet at me because I'm in Scotland, right, and they call me a derogatory term because I'm American, right? I have every right to feel offended by that, and it's not for anyone else to judge whether I should feel offended by that or not, right? So I'm not saying it's this exactly the same thing because I'm white, right? But it's still not for us to judge how Anderson should feel in a particular situation. So I really think Donaldson was in the wrong here. He was right to apologize, and it's just not something that you really want to bring to the Yankee clubhouse, man. This is a tight group. We're all fighting for each other. Donaldson has added a fight and a bit of a spark, and the whole there was a really positive vibe coming from New York, right? We managed to get over the whole issue where, we were jawing at the Cleveland Guardians guys, right? And then the things were thrown trash or something in the field. And I was really worried that was going to be a distraction. It wasn't. The Yankees just piled on, and suddenly they looked like a juggernaut. And the narrative was about, this is a really great Yankee team. They're all fighting for each other, right? We're all happy. And then Donaldson has to do a Donaldson. And this is not something this is unique here, man. He's been doing this for a long, long time. I've obviously not been in his previous locker rooms. I'm not even in the Yankee locker room. I can only judge by what what a member of the White Sox said, where he says that he contacted every locker room that he's been involved with prior, and they said that they all had issues with Josh Donaldson. So this is something that carries with Josh Donaldson. He can be a bit of an adversarial character.
No, let's just call him what he is. He's a shit stirrer. That's all.
Right, he shit stirs. Right. Okay. So
if it's all in front of baseball, and trying to get the other team or another player, off their game and get in their head, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not that Donaldson's actions itself were wrong, but and it's hard to say, like you said, Donald.
It's wrong.
The way that we look. Look, I'm a bald white guy in 2022. Nobody cares about my opinion. I haven't had any anybody come at me with hate. So it's hard for me to say they're too sensitive. But maybe John Donaldson could have used his words a little more wisely and used it different, not used Jackie Robinson's name, which is what I took problem with. It wasn't you want to get in his head and mock him for a nickname that he has. When that nickname that he used was Jackie, you let that go. Never put any shade on Jackie Robinson's name.
No,
that did bother me, but I think it's really making a big deal out of nothing.
I mean, it's something because people keep talking about it. The whole series was overshadowed by it.
Yep. The whole ESPN telecast was about that issue, man, and obviously it annoyed people that were trying to watch the game, but it is drawing light to something that is pretty serious. And the whole White Sox had a reason to be pissed off at the entire Yankee organization, and they played like it, which is whether you feel Donaldson is wrong or not, doesn't matter. He became a distraction, and it worked against us because the White Sox played freaking hard in that 2-game series. Sorry, Rob.
No, I mean it was clearly a distraction. It was a weekend that you didn't want it to. First of all, you don't want it happening at all, because whenever you're dealing with something that could or could not be about race, that is never a good thing. So you want to avoid it. Again, I don't want to say Josh Donaldson's racist because I don't know what he's thinking in his head. Nobody knows. You don't know what his thought process was about the whole thing. He said he didn't mean anything disrespectful. You can only really trust that what he's saying is the truth. Again, I don't know. I don't want to paint him to be something he's not. But Tim Anderson has every right to be disrespected. He has every right to be mad. Could he have let it go? Maybe. But again, he shouldn't, because he gave himself that nickname. Yeah, he said, okay, I got to consider myself the modern day Jackie Robinson because I'm trying to change the game. But when he said that, he meant he's trying, because there's been a kind of a race issue. I don't want to get too much into it, but there's kind of been a race issue in baseball. There's not a lot of representation from
African Americans.
Black people. Yeah, from African Americans, Black people. So, yeah, you want to see more of the African American community come into baseball. Absolutely. You want to see I want to see a melting pot. I want to see every single race because it's a good thing.
100%.
You want to see it. You don't want to see just a bunch of the same player over and over again, because then you start to get that feeling that was way back in the day. It was nothing but white dudes, right? And when Jackie Robinson came in, everyone looked at it like, what's going on here? And that's why Jackie was such a pioneer, and he's so important to baseball because he changed things for the better. And you want to see more of that. You want to see more African American community get involved in baseball. So when you use Jackie Robinson's name as kind of like to poke fun at somebody,
exactly,
don't do it. That's not a good idea. And then this was a weekend where we had the welcome home party for the players and some of the fans, and it was supposed to be a big thing. It was a big series. You won the first game. You're feeling good, but everything was overshadowed now by Donaldson's comments. So whenever you get involved that's with something that could or could not be about race, it always will have some sort of trickle effect. You got to be delicate with it. Avoid it at all costs. Again, if you wanted to poke fun at the guy, if you wanted to try to get under his skin, just smirk at him. Just laugh at him a little bit. Don't say, hey, Jackie, because what are you doing there? You might think he's going to get a chuckle out of it. No, he doesn't like you, my dude. So
exactly. He ain't rocking with you.
Exactly. He's going to get mad about it. Now, maybe do they rush to conclusions? Maybe, but again, you're with the delicate subject here. Whenever race is involved, you got to be careful. And that's just the end. That's just what it is. And
it's such a great point that there's such a there obviously isn't as much African American representation in baseball as it is, and now you're getting a white guy using the pioneer of and also one of the greatest players to ever play the sport, and using it in a, I wouldn't say derogatory, but a mocking term, is disrespectful. It's very disrespectful. And the only person who was mainly disrespectful was not necessarily Anderson, it was Jackie Robinson. So in that respect, you're being a bit of an asshole, Josh Donaldson, and you just kind of have to admit it. And I don't like the fact that the Yankee fans took Josh Donaldson's side in general because they were all booing Anderson. What did Anderson do? He was just like, dude is being an asshole to me, so I jobbed back at him. That's kind of where it went. Now, he never said it was directly racist. He said it was disrespectful. He didn't say it was racist. Tony La Russa said it was racist. So, I mean, whether I think it's racist or not doesn't matter. It's not for me to judge. And I don't want to get into a political thing because I can already envisage certain political sides now taking it as a cancel culture kind of a thing. I don't want to go down that route because it really has nothing to do with it in many respects. I think Donaldson's completely wrong. I think that he made himself a distraction, which he never should do. It should always be about the team. And B, there's really no need to actually bring up that term or that name or anything close to that to get under the guy's skin. Just take the piss out of him some way else, but not that way. That's just wrong, man. So yeah, it's done is it's hurt the Yankees, and it's hurt the Yankees image too. You never ever want to have that painted against such a historic, iconic organization. You don't want to have a player like that that's kind of stirred the pot in that regard. It's just bad news, man. And now it's all over national media. I just checked in today on my phone, and the UK website is saying that Yankee fans were mocking a black player, and now it's painted something that you just don't want to get involved in, man. And I was watching this and I'm thinking, we're booing Anderson. Anderson's going to hit a home run. That's just a fact. He's going to do it, and he's going to shush and he's going to deserve, and rightfully so. And then people in the media don't need any excuse to go after the Yankees or go after anything to start a massive issue. And they've done it, and they're riding with it. And it was all because of Josh Donaldson. Whether we think it matters or not, or whether it's racist or not, doesn't matter. He screwed up.
Yeah. No, it's really hard to put a full context into an opinion because, like I was saying, we're not in that position where we have been segregated or had shit thrown against ourselves.
I have. Being an American in Scotland, yeah, I got a lot of it.
Look, I think you're understanding. Like, I'm trying to, with the race relations in the country.
Yeah, but I'm not black. Yeah, I understand.
We don't have a lot of the vitriol thrown towards us as they have had, as far as African Americans go, and it's not fair to them.
No,
whether we like it or not, whether we agree with each other or not, we're all one people. And when you use a person's name who fought for all of us to have that frame of mind, that's a problem. And that's where it has no place in whether you're making fun of your friends within your bedroom or in the public. Mm-hmm. Don't drag a civil rights leader name through the mud like that.
No.
And I think that's where we should leave it at that.
Yep.
And move on to more bad news. Another distraction from the game itself, and that was the injuries to Green and Gill. That I want to touch on briefly. And it's just,
and possibly Chapman too.
Well, that could only be a good thing. But losing Green, where I really feel bad is he's a free agent at the end of the year. This was his year to show if he was still what his value is. And I have a bad feeling after all the good game, the good play and good pitching and good innings that he's given to the Yankees, that this will deter either the Yankees or other teams from giving him a fair deal. What's your thoughts on that?
He'll get a Canely type deal that the Dodgers gave him. They'll sign him to a 2-year. He'll come back in the second year, and if he pitches well, then he'll get another contract. He's got a good arm, but he's clearly was overused by the Yankees last year.
Yeah.
And it's definitely affected him into this year. Losing him in the bullpen is a lot more serious than losing Chapman would be. But it does suck for Chad Green because, again, you're dealing with a guy that's – I don't think he's not 30 yet, but he's closer to 30. And a relief pitching market that's already dying out because you're seeing teams find relief pitchers in a variety of different ways for very, very cheap. So, yeah, it does not bode well for him going into free agency knowing that he's hurt. He's going to get a very cheap deal for 2 years, and then they're going to hope he comes back that second year, whoever signs him. And I hope he does come back from Tommy John and pitch well. And, just so he can get another, maybe one more contract in that second free agency period. The biggest thing is with Luis Heel, him dealing with Tommy John at such a young age. I mean, it's almost like an inevitable thing for pitchers these days. You're seeing so many young pitchers deal with it, and it sucks. You just hope that he can bounce back because he clearly was struggling this year. He was not looking nearly as good as he did last year. Not even because he only pitched for us once in the majors this year, but in the minors he was struggling. He was struggling the way Davy Garcia was last year. And, yeah, man, that sucks for both guys, obviously, dealing with Tommy John. You never want to see it because it takes a full year off and at least a year and a half to get back on the mound throwing. So, I mean, who knows what's going to be for Green, but who signs him? Probably a National League team for one of those cheap 2-year deals, and you just hope he bounces back because it sucks because he was once our best relief pitcher. We probably don't make that run in 2017 without him. He was electric that year. So, I mean, it really does suck.
Yeah, when he threw that fastball up and in, you weren't hitting it. His location, his accuracy with his pitches was 17 was his best year. But
yeah, so there's two ways you look at it. So obviously, number one is on a personal level. You kind of feel bad for Chad Green. He's going into his walk year. He would have been due a pay rise. However, because of his age, one, is overused. Two, that would have certainly would have paid into what kind of money he would command in the open market. And three, as you rightly pointed out, Rob, is you pick up relievers on the cheap nowadays, man. Just look at the Braves. They won a World Series with Tyler Madzek. He hadn't pitched in 5 years prior to 2020, where the Braves picked him up from the International League and he was living out of a caravan for a while. And then he ended up being one of the best relievers in baseball and certainly one of the keys to them winning a World Series and on absolutely nothing. So with that in mind, it would have affected Chad Green anyway. Now that you add Tommy John surgery, it certainly affects what he can command on the open market. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees did a goodwill gesture for him and gave him that 2-year deal you were mentioning, Rob, and gave him an opportunity to redeem himself because he is Aaron Boone's one of the most trusted arms, right? So that's obviously number one. I feel bad for Chad Green. I wish him all the best. Two, it affects the Yankees in a lot of ways. Aaron Boone has now lost one of his most trusted arms that he liked to rely on in the middle innings or even in key roles to hold on to games. And that's a big miss. It's like when Joe Torre lost Flash Gordon. He used him a lot, and you just go through it. I mean, you have certain managers who had the most trusted arm, and Chad Green was that for Aaron Boone. So that's a big miss for our bullpen. And now we're going to have to find guys to step up into that role. Well, is Marinaccio ready for that? Licky struggled this year. Is he going to be ready for that? Loizaga seems to be broken at the moment. Is he ready to take on this burden? So it really affects our bullpen moving forward. There is now a question about the depth of our bullpen, whereas prior to this White Sox series, we had the best bullpen in all of baseball. So it is a concern now.
Now, the one thing I always wondered with the, like Rob mentioned, the amount of pitchers that have to go through, that are dealing with Tommy John surgery and Tommy John issues, arm issues overall, dead arm, whatever it may be. Is it because the new baseball and the new pitching mentality is all about how, your velocity and not the finesse of your pitching?
Maybe.
Guys are forcing themselves to throw harder because, well, if I don't hit 100, I'm not going to get signed if I don't have high velocity. It doesn't matter if you can close your eyes and hit the mitt without even thinking about it. They don't care about that. They want velocity, and is that what's affecting a lot of these pitchers' arms, especially young pitchers?
Probably. Again, scouts look at velocity nowadays, so they see. Look at that one kid. I forgot what. I think Texas. He's hitting like 105 at college. So he's gonna get picked up. People are gonna look at him like, we want that because you already have something that a major leaguer doesn't, which is a velocity. And it can affect your arm because you see the way some of these guys throw the ball. Some guys make 105 look easy. They're just like whoop, and it just flies to the plate. Other guys, it looks like they're gonna throw their entire arm out. The second they throw a pitch. So a lot of things go into it, in the way your arm's bending, the way how fast it's moving, and of course, when you're throwing that hard, you're putting a lot of your body into it. And then you're seeing a lot of young pitchers now dealing with arm injuries, and a lot of guys are just trying to throw hard so they can get looked at quicker. And it's a different day and age because the faster you throw, the better chance you're going to have of getting somebody to swing and miss. And so that's what you want out of a relief pitcher. Out of a starter, you can use more finesse. You look at our starting rotation, 3 of our guys are not really known for velocity. So, yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it has to do with just young kids or maybe just pitchers in general trying, let me bump up my velocity so people give more looks at me, which sucks because you're seeing Johnny Cueto shut us down yesterday. Nestor Cortez pitching the way he has. Even though Cueto's got more velocity than Nestor, they both kind of use similar tactics, deception, changing arm angles, and changing their windup. There is still a place in baseball for finesse pitching. It's just I hate seeing young players.
Corey Kluber was a power pitcher until he started getting hurt, and then he's now got this beautiful cutter, which obviously helped the entire Yankee organization now. But you've changed the way he pitched. CC Sabathia, same thing, man. When he was a big dude, he was rocking out 99, 100, no problem. Now, then he became more of a finesse pitcher. So that's kind of what happens. A lot of people want. Like a lot of scouts would actually prefer you to have Tommy John surgery right at the start of your career rather than at the end of it, because they kind of tend to believe that with the unhealthy motion that you're throwing the ball and at the speed and the velocity that you're delivering it does tend to lead to long-term significant injuries such as Tommy John surgery. So the fact he's getting it at 30 is probably not great for him, but it's a tough situation, man. But a lot of pitchers end up getting Tommy John surgery young and early in their career, man.
Yeah, there are even some you hear that they're electing to have it done without even having a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Where they're just saying, "I just give me the surgery before my career starts." And that can't be healthy.
No.
And I know they say the percentage, with these young pitchers, they bounce back easy. Well, no kidding. Because when you're younger, your body bounces back, easily to begin with. You straighten you straighten your back as a teenager or in your 20s is a lot different than in your 30s and 40s. The body doesn't heal as quick. So it does suck that when it does happen at the older age for these ball players to have the surgery, but you can't just go and just cut everybody open early in their career just in case. That's not good either.
No.
And to bring one positive thing onto the show today was I thought that the pitching performance from Luis Severino yesterday was probably as good as we've seen it since he got called up. He did not have the strikeouts, but he had that grit, and he grinded out those innings, without even letting, he had one run scored by the end, and I don't even think he was on the mound for that. I think that was the Weisiger's run, wasn't it?
Severino didn't give up a run.
He didn't give up a
run.
Tyone did.
That's what
Tyone was brilliant too, but he only gave up one run.
That's what it is. The both of them. Well, so Severino point stood out to me the most because I was kind of watching a little closely to him because, he hasn't pitched in a couple of years, and he's the one we're really relying on behind Cole. And then with Nesta, that's our three-headed monster right now. But Severino he was just unbelievable the way he was getting out of every jam that they gave him. He was getting himself in and out of trouble all game and just never. Well, he didn't lose his confidence in himself, and I think that's just something that he's going to be able to carry on through the next few, 2 rounds of the rotation. That he's going to give us a lot of good innings and keep us in a lot of really tight games.
You kind of wish the offense would pick up on his fire because he was pumped. Like he when he got that out at that bases loaded jam, and he was acting like he had just won Game 7 of the World Series. Like, I was hoping the offense was going to be like, "Oh, he's ready. Let's go get him some runs." And they didn't do anything. They couldn't hit Kopech to save their life. And your guy Rob Brantley broke up the freaking perfect game for crying out loud. So.
Yeah, believe me, I was smiling to myself about that.
I was too.
We couldn't hit, and it's a shame because both teams could not hit at all yesterday until our bullpen came in. Both games, they just couldn't hit our starting pitching. And again, as good as our bullpen has been, as something Donald mentioned, with Green hurt and with Chapman's potential injury, and also the fact that Chapman just sucks, our bullpen depth is starting to get questioned because Loaizaga has been terrible this year. He is not the same guy he was last year. Litke has kind of been a seesaw. He's been really good at times, and he's been really, really bad. Castro started off red hot. Once I said something about him, he's been bad. So maybe I need to say he sucks, and maybe he'll pick it back up again. So now our bullpen's starting to struggle, but I don't really want to hit them too much because of it, because they were so good, and they were used a lot in the early parts. But now that we're starting to get some length from our starters, like for Tyone and Sevy to both give you 7 yesterday, and to say that we didn't take a single one of those games, that's rare. Combining with the fact that our bullpen stunk and Aaron Hicks just kept batting with runners on base. We'll get to him in a second, but we're trying to be positive here, right? The starting pitching.
That's why I don't even want to give Hicks airtime.
I mean, we kind of have to, but even Nestor, like, even though he didn't have his best stuff, he only gave up the big home run.
Yeah.
But overall, he still struck out like 8 batters and gave us 5 hard-fought innings. So even when he's in habit, he's still pitching well. Yeah, so the starting pitching was fine. It sucks that we couldn't take. We probably should have won that first game of the doubleheader,
Yep.
But public enemy number 1 just keeps rearing his ugly head.
Chapman or Hicks?
Oh, Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks is the only person that can get 2 hits in a game, and you just still hate the guy, because how does he get 2 singles and then you get picked off at second base? Everyone was just like, "Hey, there you go. That's something that can get you going at the plate." And then you go ahead and you get picked off at second.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Because
that is so bad.
And then when Judge tied the game in the first game, you're like, we got something brewing here, right? Then Donaldson just missed a home run. And then Aaron Hicks comes up. And what does he do? Pops out. Right, just like I said the other day, death, taxes, and Aaron Hicks popping out with runners in scoring position. It just happens every single time. And then Aaron Boone makes the boneheaded decision. This was 2021 Boone. Let's bring in Chapman, who's apparently dealing with an Achilles injury, to throw the 9th inning in a tie game. And what does he do? Promptly gives it right up to a guy that had 1 home run on the season. So why not IL the guy? If you know he's hurt, he's hurting us by pitching.
Yeah.
He's cost us 2 games in the last week now to the same freaking team. If he needs to go on the IL, put him on the IL. Give David McKay a chance, because I want to see what Matt Blake can do with him, because he does everything Matt Blake wants you to do. Throws hard and throws a good sinker. Matt Blake loves that. Look what he did with Clay Holmes and Monty Peralta. I mean, what do you have to lose? If he's hurt, don't use him. IL him, because he stinks right now, and you don't need that in your bullpen, because you're going to need him in big spots, especially with Green hurt now.
100%. That first game was on Aaron Boone, I'm afraid. First of all, having Aaron Hicks in the middle of the order, what more evidence do you need there? Aaron Hicks can't be batting in the middle of the order. He already gave you that evidence in our previous episode, where he was directly responsible for the loss. If you want an L, you gave it to Aaron Hicks, and that was on Friday's episode we were discussing, right? And now, as soon as the next opportunity we could possibly play, Aaron Hicks is right back in the middle of the order again. That is a mistake, and it cost us runners in scoring position a game. And then when you move on, and then you put in Chapman, who has been costing us games, and you not openly, but it's quite obviously you don't trust him, because you're working him out in games where you've got a 5-6 run lead, and you're just hoping that, for God's sake, that he's going to manage to pull together something and get 3 outs regularly. But then you just overlook that, and then just put him in the high leverage situations, which he blew the last time he had a high leverage situation. The very next time he's had a high leverage situation, he blew that as well. How many more times do you need? You don't do that, especially when the Yankees again have made a dramatic fight back. That's what my big concern so far is, that for all our wonderful fight backs, our manager or Chapman or Aaron Hicks are giving it right back. And that is worrying to me, because again, Aaron Judge saved the day, brought the momentum back, right? Like DJ LeMahieu previously saved the day, but then we give it right back by putting in guys that should not be in high leverage situations, are blowing it in high leverage situations. Obviously, it was Chapman, then it was Litke, it's Chapman again. You just need to be managing smarter there. You need to ride the momentum. When you come back in the 9th inning or in the 8th inning and your tail is up, you need to ride that momentum, because you need to make sure that you get that W that day, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen that next game. I mean, obviously, you can't predict that in the night game we're going to get no hit, or it was going to be a perfect game for the first 6 innings. I mean, that's unbelievable, right? So you need to ride that opportunity when you have it. And we had that opportunity. We blew it. Aaron Hicks blew it. Chapman blew it. Sadly, because I really like him this year, Aaron Boone blew it. So that was an L in game 1. But it was a much better played game than game 2, which was just flat out ugly, apart from Severino, who was just incredible, man. He had it. He was rocking it. I loved the fight. I loved that every time he gave up a hit or put runners on the at third base, didn't matter. He pitched exactly the same way and got out of it every single time. That's a baller on the mound, man. So it kind of reminded me of like Rocket Roger, whenever he was put in a tough situation, he always just battled through it and got out of it unscathed. He's just that much of a fighter on the mound. So I love that about Severino, and that's something that if you want a positive from the weekend, you ride that, and you ride Tyon's positive, because their entire 5-man rotation, no one has an ERA of above 3.29. It's absolutely amazing what our 5 starters are doing. So, so Tats.
No, it's really important for them to take, to shake off the weekend. It was just everything was just going sideways for them this weekend. Nothing went really right. Like you said, just aside from the first game, which still was a scrappy game, but they came out, they still won. they got to make sure that they bring up, they bring up the right reinforcements. I think was it Marciano, whatever that's his name, Marinaccio. I think he's going to be the one that they call up to fill in the gap until they figure out. He's already up, so he's going to get the chance to play. So,
stop talking, Rob.
But they have Baltimore coming in. They got to right the shit. This is the chance for them to get back on track and just start playing the Yankee baseball that we've been seeing prior to this weekend. And we'll break down how the Baltimore series tomorrow. We'll have guest on with us. Knights of Deegan is coming on to hang out with us for a little bit. So we'll get his point of view on how everything is going down for the Yankees this season as well. So we're going to give his channel, Knights of Deegan on YouTube. He's going to be our Monday social media shout out. And check out his channel. He does his morning brew shows live in the mornings, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But tomorrow he's going to be giving us a little bit of his time. So we're appreciative of that. So just remember, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And check out our social media in the description. Check us out on sportname.com/player. Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku. Wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.